Hello, good morning, everyone. Welcome to FREEWrite Friday. My name is Jessica Lynn Johnson, and for those of you who don't know me, I am the founder and CEO of Soaring Solo Studios, which is a company that is dedicated solely to the direction and development of one-person plays. So welcome to this experience. A little bit about me. Let's see, I have been in this business for about 20 years now. I started when I was about 20 years old in solo theater. So many years ago in New York City as a solo artist myself, and toured successfully with two one-woman shows of my own. And I have been teaching, directing, and developing for about 13 years now, other solo artists, and have collaborated on well over 100 solo shows in that time. I have clients that I work with everywhere and am blessed to help them tell their stories in Africa, New York, Chicago, Florida, Los Angeles, you name it. So that is what I am blessed to do every day. And what else can I tell you? I am on the advisory board for the Los Angeles Women's Theater Festival. I am a blogger for NoHo Arts, which is in North Hollywood. And so I write a blog all about solo theater tips, tricks, techniques. So you can look me up on NoHo Arts website for that. And yeah, that's a little bit about me. So I'd love to know more about you. So please say hi in the chat. Let me know where you're tuning in from. Let me know what stage of development with your solo show you're in. Are you touring? Are you just curious about the possibility of a solo show somewhere in between those two spaces? Let me know. I'd love to know more about you. And get to know one another in the chat as well. This is all about community, so welcome. Let's see. So the mission of FREEWrite Friday, it's a relatively new offering. I've been doing it, I think, for what, 1 or 2 months, something like that. This offering is really about creating a safe, supportive space for studying the structure, plot points, characters, things like that in solo theater. So it's really 2 parts. I'll do a little bit of lecture and then we will write together in an effort to make some awesome progress on your solo shows. And that's really what FREEWrite Friday is. I don't really take questions during this time, or we don't share work during this time. If you have questions, always feel free to email me at soringsoloartist@gmail.com. And if you're looking to share your work, I have my free class that is usually once a month on Saturdays. So you can share your work in the class setting. Or of course, if you want to work with me in a more professional capacity, I offer coaching as well, which I'll tell you more about later. But yeah, that's the gist of FREEWrite Friday and what we're doing. And the next FREEWrite Friday, if you like today and want to come back next time, is happening Friday, August 27th at 11 a.m. Pacific time, 1 p.m. Central, 2 p.m. Eastern. So just sign up the same exact way you did today. Little bit of housekeeping. If you're going to be doing anything distracting on camera, I would ask that you turn your camera off. But if you're just going to be sitting there writing and enjoying, then camera can stay on if you'd like. And make sure you have something nearby you to write with and write on. So as soon as we move into the writing portion, you are ready to go. The whole thing should take about 20, maybe 30 minutes, short and sweet. Okay, so our talking point for today. Oh, and I should also mention, sorry, I should also mention that if you missed any previous FREEWrite Friday sessions and you want to play catch up, because I will be referencing some things from past sessions, you can just go to my YouTube channel, Soaring Solo LLC, and you can catch up there because I do record these sessions so that you can watch them back or watch them for the first time on YouTube. Okay, I think that is all of the pertinent information before we jump in. Okay, so today we're going to focus on what is the falling action of your solo show? What is the falling action of your solo show? Again, you've probably thought about falling action in a normal play, like an ensemble piece or a musical or things like that, but have you applied falling action to your one-person play? Have you thought about your story in those terms? And again, whether you're writing a story that is about your life or a historical figure or celebrity or a fantasy character or whatever, doesn't really matter. The same playwriting structures will still apply. So you'll want to be thinking about what is the falling action of your solo show, regardless of who your protagonist is and if they are fictional or not. So let's see. In the last few sessions, we talked about the climax of your solo show. We talked about the inciting incident of your solo show. So essentially the falling action, how I'd like you to look at it is everything that happens between that climax and the resolution of your solo show, which isn't a very long space. It actually should be a short amount of time and script content, really. You don't want your falling action to take up too much time. And you'll notice when you see a solo show where you're like, oh my God, this seems like it's going on forever. It's so long. I already got the point 20 minutes ago. Well, when that happens, the odds are good that the actor already presented the climax and then they're just hanging around in the falling action for way too long. And now we're bored and now we're checking our watches and have to go to the bathroom and go to concessions or whatever. We're bored. So we don't want to do that. So it's really important to be concise with your falling action. And in terms of your solo show, you really, it might be helpful to think about what is the resolution at the very end? Like, what do you want your final statement to be or that final scene to be? And what is that climax moment? So that you can just fill in those little steps in between. And I'll, of course, give you some tangible examples of what this can look like. So we'll start with talking about Fertile. So many of you in the community have seen Fertile by Soaring Solo instructor Heather Dowling, award-winning one-woman show, fantastic show. In the climax, the character Jenny, who Heather plays, realizes that she wants to push pause on the whole baby making thing. She doesn't want to keep trying to figure out how to have a family anymore. And we can fast forward and look at the resolution at the end of the show, which is her conversation with her neighbor Gloria, where they're really reframing what it means to have an impactful, powerful, happy life. So somewhere in between this climax and this scene with Gloria, we have to have our falling action. And it's pretty short and sweet. The falling action in Fertile is really just Jenny talking about, why adoption isn't the right fit for them at this time, or, maybe they should get a dog, and that'll be fulfilling, or, just exploring with her husband, what are the other options aside from having kids? So it's really just a short back and forth sweet, short conversation. And then we have the scene with Gloria, which is also fairly short, where Jenny's just catching Gloria up on the happenings between her and her husband and the other things she's been through with doctors, and the show concludes. So that whole portion is probably only about 10, maybe 12 minutes of the show. It's relatively short, which again is important because we've already reached the climax. The audience is feeling somewhat satisfied with the dramatic question, dramatic tension being resolved to a certain extent. So they just want those kind of final statements and to go home. So we don't want to keep them hanging out in the falling action for too long. And I'll give one more example with my second solo show, Z. I would say the climax of Z is when Tessa, the protagonist of the show, gets the phone call that her transgender best friend, Robbie, has been murdered, and in a transphobic hate crime. And so that happens. And fast forwarding again to the very end of the show, we have a montage of a bunch of different characters that the audience has met throughout the show, just giving rapid fire one-liners about love and about acceptance. So between that montage at the end and Tessa getting that dramatic phone call, the falling action is really just a prayer that Tessa has with God. It's a battle. She's fighting, she's crying, she's working it out with God, all the different complex feelings she's having about why this happened to her best friend. And then we resolve the show, like I said, in that final montage. So that's, again, an example of the falling action. That prayer sequence is maybe 5 minutes. It's relatively short. So again, after that climactic moment, we're wrapping things up rather quickly. So hopefully that's giving you an idea of what maybe your falling action might be in your own solo show. And again, if you think you have identified what the climax is or what the resolution is at the end, start to ask yourself, okay, well, what are those beats in between? How do I get from climax to resolution? What are those beats? And that will help you determine what the falling action is, and if you have too much going on, or if you've really whittled it down to what is most important in that falling action. So for the writing portion, I'm going to break this up into 2 sections. The first 3 minutes, I just want you to do a bullet point list of things that you think might constitute falling action in your solo show. So again, just bullet points. We're not going too crazy with this. We're just writing some bullet points of moments you think might fall under falling action. So I'm going to set my timer for 3 minutes. I'll let you know when that's up, and then we'll move into the second portion. Go ahead and wrap up those bullet points now. And for part two, I'm going to set my timer for 5 minutes this time. And this time I just want you to flesh out one or two of those bullet points. So just pick something from that little list you created of possible falling action moments and go a little deeper, write a little bit more, and always be thinking about who's involved, where is it set, what time of year is it, yeah, what's the city, like all those types of expositional details. Those are always still important as we're wrapping things up too, that we're including enough details so that our audience is not lost. So you have 5 minutes. Again, just expand about one or two of those bullet points of falling action. Okay, please wrap up your writing. So yeah, hopefully, on my notes here, hopefully that was helpful to help you start to see what your falling action might be, or just get some ideas about that. And sometimes it really does help to work backwards. So again, if you're very clear on what the climactic moment of your life was, or of this story was, then you can build the other pieces around that. And sometimes, again, we know the end of our story. So perhaps you've lived through a lot of trauma and drama in your life, and you have some pearls of wisdom to share, and you could just write a whole monologue of those pearls of wisdom. Great. So that's probably your final monologue of your show. Now work backwards. What was the climax before that? What was the falling action before that? What were all those pieces that led up to that final monologue? Or similarly, if you have a call to action, something that you're super passionate about, that you care about, a societal issue that you want to raise awareness about, write that final monologue. That's probably your call to action final monologue. And then you can work backwards from there, with why you started to care about any of that anyway. What happened to you or to someone or something that you cared about that got you thinking about that particular topic. So again, just start wherever you are with whichever mosaic piece is there in front of you and build from that. So go back and watch the other Free Write Fridays, because again, you might go, oh, well, this mosaic piece is right there for me. And for those of you who are new, I use mosaics as a metaphor for this process, because that's really exactly what it feels like, putting together a mosaic. We're just collecting pieces, beautiful pieces, and then we're putting them together to create a final work of art. And those pieces might not be linear. They might not come to us in a chronological order. That's not how inspiration tends to work. So just allow yourself to discover it one piece at a time, and it will all come together. It always does. So you'll see in the chat, I put quite a few announcements of things that are happening in our community right now, in the Soaring Solo community. It's always a busy place. So my next free class is happening Saturday, September 25th, The Art of Creating the One-Person Play. So again, that's Saturday, September 25th, 10 a.m. Pacific, noon Central, 1 p.m. Eastern. You can sign up for that under free stuff on my website, soaringSoloStudios.com. And no experience is necessary. You don't have to bring anything to class on Zoom. You can just show up, and I will give you a writing prompt. And if you do want to bring something, like if you created something in this session or in one of my Isolate, Meditate, Create sessions or something like that, or outside of class entirely, as long as it's solo theater, bring it. And if there's time, I will let you share it and give you feedback. So go ahead and sign up for that in September. And then, as always, you're more than welcome to forever and always do my free events. But if you did want to work with me in a more professional capacity, that is available. I do offer one-on-one coaching. I have power pair sessions with you, another artist, and myself. Also small groups, which are up to 6 solo artists at one time. So it's kind of like a solo theater writer's room. Those are really wonderful too. And you also build a lot of great community, because even though it's a one-person show, it definitely takes a tribe to put a solo show together. What else? Oh, and then we have the Creating Captivating Characters Intensive, which is a monthly offering on Wednesdays. And now we're also going to be offering it on Saturdays. And that really just takes a deep dive into solo theater technique, which is very unique from ensemble work, especially if you're playing a myriad of characters. There's a lot of technique that goes into that. And so we help you discover your story through the lens of a character. And if you already have your story and you want to polish your characters, it's also a great intensive to take. So you can email me for more information about that, soaringsoloartist@gmail.com. And if you're looking to put a stake in the ground, if you know me at all, I'm always talking about put a meaningful stake in the ground to make your solo show a reality. So it's not just this dream that's kind of nebulous and never really happens, but that it actually manifests. So putting a stake in the ground is very important for that. So I will be launching a virtual reading series in September of this year, and then it's going to go through the spring of 2022. So if you're working on a new piece, or you want to be working on a new piece, email me, let me know, and you can possibly be one of the featured artists in this virtual reading series. And doing a reading is such an important part of the process with creating a solo show, whether you want to keep that reading super intimate with like 5 to 10 people, or you want 40 people on that Zoom call, whatever it is. It's a really important way to get feedback on your show for what isn't clear, what isn't working, and also what is working. What does your audience love and resonate with that you don't want to accidentally edit out because they really vibed with it and you didn't know that. So it's important to let others into the creative process at that point in our creative process when we do have a draft that's ready to share. So email me for more information about the Revealed virtual reading series. What else? So during the pandemic, it was at first every single day, and then I moved to doing it on Wednesday mornings. I did an event called Isolate, Meditate, Create. So now there are 120 webisodes of Isolate, Meditate, Create on my YouTube channel. And essentially what that is, I just use meditation and visualization to get you out of here and into here in your writing. More often than not, when I talk to an artist, they have a lot of negative beliefs going on in their mind that are blocking them from telling the story that's right there for them to tell. So meditation and visualization often just softens us and allows us to release a lot of those things so that the story can come forward. So if you're interested to see if that modality might work for you, just visit my YouTube channel, Soaring Solo LLC, and watch Isolate, Meditate, Create. There's 120 episodes of it, so you'll definitely get some content out of it. And it's also some good self-care too. So like I mentioned at the beginning, my next FREEWrite Friday is happening on Friday, August 27th, so next week, at 11 a.m. Pacific time, 1 Central, and 2 p.m. Eastern. And definitely visit my YouTube channel to catch up on any ones that you missed so that you're putting all these pieces together and getting the whole picture of the solo writing structure. And also right now is the Hollywood Fringe Festival, which is just so amazing that the Hollywood Fringe Festival is back. It unfortunately got canceled like so many other things did last year, and it's back. And it's a hybrid of both live stream and in-person performances. So wherever you're at in the world, please tune in, support live theater. We have 14 solo shows in the Soaring Solo community that I am proud to direct and develop that are happening. If you just go to my website under events and upcoming solo shows, you'll see the whole roster. And then Barbara Brownell, yes, she is on this call, on the August 28th, this is not Fringe Festival, but it's still another solo theater performance happening in the Los Angeles area. She is doing her show at the Group Rep in, I think it's North Hollywood or Burbank. Barbara, you can put that in the chat, but it's happening on August 28th. And that's a fundraiser for the Group Rep Theater. So again, we want to support live theater. The show is called Finding Your Light. And Barbara has lived through a tremendous amount of trauma, and yet she is one of the most loving, amazing women that I've had the pleasure of knowing. And her solo show infuses dance and song and a myriad of wonderful characters. She is an absolute incredible talent, and you don't want to miss that show. And even though they're not live streaming it, you can still buy a ticket and she'll send you the link later to watch the recording of it. So feel free to look on my website for details about that as well. Okay, I think that's everything. I'm gonna go ahead and leave the chat up for just a few moments if you're still jotting things down or wanna say hi to one another. But I just wanna thank you all so much for tuning in today. I really hope this was of value and of service to you. Please have a fabulous, fabulous weekend. Bye, everyone.